Happy whatever day this is. Mark Wagner here, Dental Bytes. I'm your host for today. My next guest on today, super excited to bring this fellow Canadian after a we're not going to gloat. We're not going to gloat at all, but great hockey game last night. Canada versus USA. This will air a little bit after the fact. It was actually last night, the game, but the country is vibrating. My next guest here, Dr. Paresh Shah, hailing from Winnipeg, Manitoba, is the author of Beyond the Single Tooth. Check it out. Great book. I purchased it. I'm not even a dentist. It's great. It's tons of great information in there. He's going to tell us where you can find it. But without further ado, let's bring him in.
Hi.
There we go. We did it. You gave me an extra half an hour, and we were tinkering before we started up here. But yeah. having 45 minutes in here to like adjust cameras and lighting and things, it's almost sometimes too much. But how are you? It's been a while. You just came back from Paris. How's the trip?
It was great. Just a nice, relaxing time for about 8 days, and pretty mindless. No agenda, so it was good. It was good to just relax and chill a bit. And considering the week that we were away was like minus 25, minus 30 every day, so
you escaped it. Yeah, great on.
Yeah,
and those trips are great too. The ones where you sometimes no plan is the best plan. Considering a guy like yourself, you're getting pulled in every direction with practices and courses and building all that out. So I really want to dive into what's new. How's the book sales going? How are courses going? What's new on your front?
The book embarrassing or whatever, haven't focused on book sales. It's just, if people are asking, I mention it, and I think it's a great adjunct for a lot of dentists to be able to, a resource to be able to look at, to, have some idea of how to implement or change the way you practice dentistry from single tooth to whole mouth dentistry. I don't know the last time we were on a call. It's been a few years, but I built a practice over COVID time and moved in almost 4 years ago this April. And it's kind of another dream practice, another stage in your career. And so it's been a lot of fun, some stresses along the way, but overall I'm enjoying dentistry more in the last 4 or 5 years than I have in my previous 10 years. So that's been great. And still doing some lecturing, but I'm trying to dictate and control how I'm doing that, because I'm really wanting to also find time to just for myself to do other things, or the things that I enjoy most.
Yeah. Time, it flies. If I think the further along you get, like obviously the book is, your knowledge has to go somewhere, right? And you're the type that wants to give back to you. You're a great teacher, right? Yeah. So, how do you find, what's your steps in, assessing whether, you're going to have impact with your time, like even clinically? What's sort of your thought process, coming towards the later stages in your career? What's your goal? Are you thinking, what are you impacting and all that kind of stuff? Like where are your thoughts at these days?
Here's the thing. I love what I do. A lot of people will say hey, what hobbies do you have? What things do you like doing? And, I have a number of hobbies, from just hanging out with family and friends, having great dinners and traveling and playing golf and watching sports and all of that kind of stuff. But also dentistry has been a big part of my life. It's not, and for some people they might say, hey, I'm defined by it, but I don't feel I am. I think a lot of it's related to, relationships that you build over time with patients and with other dentists and colleagues like yourself. And but for me, I still love what I do. I still love going into the office and doing dentistry and helping people transform their smiles and feel better about themselves. And but I don't want to do it to the extent that I have been for all these years. So what I'm trying to do now is, which I probably should have done a while ago, but it's an evolution, right? And everyone has a different journey along the way, is just try and dedicate my time and allocate it so that when I'm spending time in the office, I'm spending time doing it, doing the things that I enjoy most, and the things that I don't enjoy as much, just not doing them,
Yeah.
delegating them or referring them out. And in terms of teaching and educating, um, we were talking before we went online, just, getting rid of some of the stuff that I've done a lot of and I'm bored with, and I don't enjoy teaching anymore. And so that's what I'm trying to be. And through that, finding the time so that if I want to just up and leave and go on a vacation or go and visit our daughter and son-in-law in New York, that I'm just going to pick up and go, hey, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I'd like to be able to do it as on short notice, like even if it's a week or two out, and just say, hey, I'm going to take next weekend and just head away and take a couple extra days.
How long, like, and what pieces did you have to put in place to get to this point? Like, can you honestly say to yourself that, you've enjoyed your whole career from start to finish? And what would you tell young practitioners out there now to, how and what things should they do to self-discover what their journey might be? What's sort of your tidbits there?
I think that's a great question. I would say, how, you ask people even when you're interviewing and
Oh, wow.
have conversations like, hey, what are your goals? What are your 5-year goals? What are your
Yeah.
long-term goals? And realize that it's okay if they change. It doesn't have to be just one set goal. But I think you break it into stages to some extent, which is what I've done. I had a goal when I first started my practice or purchased a practice and started, and then when I transitioned to another one and another one, and I also had some different goals of how my lecturing and teaching fits into that. And then as I started progressing through that, it changed again. And so what I would say is, yeah, set a short-term goal of, I don't know, maybe it's 1 to 3, 5 years. Like, what do you want to do? What do you envision with it? Figure out where your bread and butter is coming from and really nurture that. Like,
Yeah.
like, where are you going to make your living from?
Right.
And then see how you can fit some of the fun stuff that make you happy. And that fun stuff could be more dentistry. It could be lecturing. It could be spending time golfing or learning a music, whatever it is, but just figure that out and fit it in. But try not to forget where your foundation's going to be.
Yeah. And that's,
And then,
that's beyond the single tooth in your case, right? Like I would argue that a lot of people's bread and butter are the posterior single unit stuff. Like that's that's the heavy caseload out there. Is there a way around it? So, like, is it delegation? Like, what are your,
so you mean like in terms of the way the practice style and types of dentistry you're doing?
Sure. Or just the folks coming in off the street. Obviously, the folks like yourself, you're looking at the whole mouth. It's more of a,
Right.
Comprehensive scenario.
Yeah.
How do you get to that? Because,
Well,
coming out of dental school, you're not equipped with these, these pieces of
No, you're
knowledge,
not.
right?
Yeah, sorry. So I misinterpreted it a little bit at the beginning.
Yep.
So I was more related to just globally, like how do you kind of go through your stages in your career? But that's a really, really relevant question. So when you're first starting out, I think it's important to just get a feel and a flavor of just building some clinical skill, some competence, some repetition of some of the basic procedures, and learning how to communicate with patients. Okay. And I don't know how long that's going to take, but uh, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, just doing that. And here's part of the thing that I think is lost with a lot of people is they don't have follow-ups. Like, you've got to see some of your work. You got to see it a year later. You got to see it 5 years later. Is it good? Is it lasting? Is what I'm doing working? And if it's not, how do I alter it to make it better? Okay. And then, really, as you want to start doing more involved and comprehensive dentistry, I think it's important to have mentors. And if you're going to take courses, it's not going to be a course that's going to teach a skill of, hey, let me learn how to do a root canal. Let me learn how to place an implant, like physically place an implant, or let me learn how to do a composite or composite for our American friends. Um, but learning how to diagnose and treatment plan. And that doesn't always sound very sexy. Okay. Um, but doing a continuum, like some continuum, like I've gone through the whole Coist continuum. I've done a fair amount of Spear, but I mean, there's Dawson, there's Pankey, and there's even implant continuums that teach restorative, like Mish, and which I did, and it's one of those things where they're teaching you how to diagnose. They're teaching you how to look globally. They're teaching you how to look at all the different disciplines and not just focus on, hey, let's teach you how to do better filling or better crown. You follow what I mean? So I think that it's a progressive thing. And you brought up about, quadrant dentistry. Honestly, like, if you do really good everyday dentistry and you do quadrant dentistry, you're probably going to be the most profitable. It's
Yeah,
easy. It's a little easier to do. Um, you start doing some of the bigger stuff in the whole mouth. Um, there's a reward, but there's also a risk that comes with it.
sure.
And you got to handle the risk and the problems and the complications and all of those things.
In your opinion, I mean, this is just a thought. As the business of dentistry with the corpse coming in, is that missed with some of these bigger outfits? Are we looking at more profitable things? What are you seeing on your end? Is the industry at risk with all these franchisees coming through?
Is the industry at risk? I don't know. I just think overall, just the involvement with private equity and all that stuff has just changed the dynamics, whether it's educational institutes or dental practices. It has, um, and I think what I worry about is the quality of care that an average patient is going to get. Um, are they going to still be able to get, like, their basic restorative? Is it going to be done at a high level? And it can be done anywhere as long as you've got a good, conscientious, competent dentist. What I do feel or worry about is when the patients who have all sorts of problems and occlusal instability and wear, like, are they going to be treated effectively where they are? And it doesn't mean it can't be at with a dentist in working for a DSO or not. It's got to be up to that dentist to be able to do that. As long as the dentist has the freedom to be able to diagnose and treatment plan, and they're doing it in a comprehensive manner, in an ethical manner, you should be able to get the dentistry anywhere. It's If there's an outside influence telling you what to do and how to do it, that's a different story.
Right.
And I don't know if that's happening or not. I can only make guesses. I just think it's important that the individual really focus on being the best they can and as comprehensive as they can.
Yeah. And it's not all about the dollar bills. Sometimes it's about delivering quality patient care, I think, at the end of the day, right? And you would hope that the dollar signs are put aside for the patient, from their perspective, obviously, right? What would you like? So, if we're talking about a dental practice owner, maybe wanting to alleviate some of the business of the dentistry, like moving to a corp. Has that ever, is that something that's ever crossed your mind throughout your journey?
I don't want someone telling me how to practice dentistry. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of these people say they don't. I think that's a pile of crap. I
Yeah.
really do. I think it's a rare one where, and I'm not saying where they're dictating every little thing. I don't want someone doing that. I want the freedom to be able to run the practice the way I want. Well, it might be different now, but a few years ago, probably would sell your practice and maybe make a little less. But I think things are starting to even out a little bit. Um, but no, I don't want to. And if down the road, 5 years down the road, I change my mind on that, then I'll give you permission to call me out and go, Paresh, you said you weren't going to do that.
I got it. I
But,
recorded it right here.
yeah,
Listen to it right here.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I do want to. I want to
Yeah.
run it the way I want to. That's why I
Yeah.
bought a building, built a practice at the age of like 58, and I'm in my 60s now, early 60s, and I love what I do, but I'm doing it my way,
Yeah.
and I'm doing the type of dentistry that I want to do.
So you just built your new practice 4 years ago. What were 3 key things that you wanted to incorporate in your new practice from a business perspective?
One is, which was what I was doing, but I wanted to focus more on it, comprehensive diagnosis and treatment. I wanted to make sure that we looked at the entire well-being of the patient and not just focusing on the mouth, looking at their health, looking at their diet, nutrition, all of those things, periodontal care. And then number 3, I wanted the patients to partner in their care. Those are my 3 strategic anchors that I've built my practice on. And what I mean by partnering in their care is if patients come in and they say, I don't want x-rays, I don't want a periodontal probing, I just want a cleaning, they're not patients that I want to treat. If they don't want to invest their time to looking after their care optimally, there are other practitioners and practices that are willing to take it because, hey, it's a little extra money. And for me, I don't want numbers. I want people to be invested in their care.
Yeah.
And my hygienists also, like when they see the patient, I don't want them to have to fight. Why are you recommending that I come in every 3 months? Well, you're advanced periodontal disease, and this is the standard of care, and this is what we're doing to try and get you healthy. And if you're just worrying about, well, no, it's not going to be covered and this and that, it doesnn't work. Because I can't give you the optimal care.
Yeah. What tools are you using for that patient communication? Like, obviously that's got to be a hard conversation sometimes when people are everybody.
You train the entire team to practice and think about everything in a comprehensive manner.
Yeah.
You give your hygienist the freedom to be able to spend extra time on those initial visits, getting to build a relationship with the patient, finding out the pain points, talking about their nutrition, talking about their medications and health, talking about their challenges with oral care, and knowing that initial appointment or 2 may not be producing as much, but you know that once they've built that connection and they come back, it's all going to pay for itself. It's a big part of it. And it's interesting. But I remember when I had an experienced admin who's not with me anymore, worked in another practice for like 11 years, and then she comes in, and I'm listening to her converse over like a 10 or 15 minutes with a patient about well, this initial consult's going to require radiographs and this and that. And you can listen to her fighting with the patient about, well, we need radiographs. And finally, the patient, I go back later and I said, hey, I noticed you were talking to that patient. What's going on? And he goes, well, they didn't want x-rays. They didn't want x-rays, but I said you did. And I finally got them booked. And I go, how long did it take you? Well, we were talking 10 or 15 minutes. And I said, how'd you like 100 more of those? And he goes, oh, God, no. And I go, well, then these are our strategic anchors. It's written right in front of you. What does it say? But part of their stigma is, hey, when I worked in the previous office, they got upset if I didn't book the patient. Well, I get it. I want to have our schedule full, but I don't want the schedule full of people that don't want to look after themselves.
Well, and look at the additional time that it took too. Like that could have been spent with somebody that was, like you said, a partner. Yeah. How
say, what did I want to do? Those were the three things, and we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Right.
Now I've got a few other things I want to do beyond that. But that is the foundation of our new practice. And when I'm not in the office, I don't have my team calling me and going, like when we were away for 8 days, saying, oh, well, wait till Dr. Shah comes back and then I'll tell you. Like if you go to a hotel and something doesn't go right, you don't want them to go, well, the manager's in on Monday. We'll call you back then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I like that analogy. Yeah, absolutely.
You want them to be empowered to give you a decision and a resolution right then.
So obviously this is the foundational piece of this is your systems that you've built. Like what are the steps involved in that and the training too? Do you send your folks out to additional training? Like what?
So I had a management coach. Her name's Jerry Gottlieb. She goes by GG Practice Coaching, and she's from Palm Springs, Palm Desert. And so I met her through Seattle Study Club, and her husband was actively involved in the Seattle Study Club as a periodontist. So I had her come and help initially onboarding some of the team and helping me present how we're going to, changing our vision and mission, our core values and everything. And then as people come on now, when I'm interviewing and hiring, I'm focusing on those strategic anchors. And I'm like, this is what our practice is about. And some people can't relate. They just read it and go, yeah, I can do it. But as soon as they get into the practice and within a few weeks and then ultimately a few months, they can separate themselves out because they see our team and how hard they work and how collaborative they work. And either they rise to the top with them or they just sink.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
So our onboarding could be a little better. We're struggling a little bit recently. But that's kind of our approach.
Yeah.
We have the systems and checklists and everything.
And like, how is that for culture when you're empowering the team, especially, you're not there and they're making decisions. Like to me, that's a great foundation for happier people.
It is. And so the team that just blends together and they work that way, they're more comfortable because they know that those decisions that they're making for the patients at that time they're foundational based. So it's like, okay, we're talking about comprehensive dentistry. We're talking about overall wellness and health. And we're talking about accountability from the patient's point of view. Mm-hmm. As long as those three are there, everything's done. It all falls into place.
Yeah.
They have the freedom to say, hey, don't worry, I'll refund this or we'll do that or credit this and that sort of thing. But as soon as you have that, it gives them a lot more sense of responsibility and accountability and ownership, which is a good thing.
And personal growth too, if they're taking on things that people want, like they need that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So earlier on, we'll back up a little bit. What were some key things in just growing your practice? Like what would you attribute to your retention of patients? How did you keep patients coming back?
That's a great question because for me, because I've been also lecturing for over 20 years. I went through a phase where I didn't spend as much time interacting during my exams um, for a period of time. I was kind of parachuting in and out. And during that phase, I was warned by some mentors of mine, if you do that, your practice is going to suffer. And I didn't fully believe that, but it did, in the sense that some of the patients became transient, not all, but some of them. And I would go, hey, what happened to this family? And we're like, well, they weren't seeing you anyway because you were away Thursday, Friday. So they just went to, their spouse's dentist or their parents' dentist and that sort of thing. So as I started to realize that, and also wanting to be more selective with how much time I'm away in terms of lecturing and everything, and building this new practice, it was like, I got to make this commitment. So I've spent more time. I've extended the time that I spend with the patients. So sometimes the productivity might change a little bit, but because I'm doing more comprehensive work, it more than makes up for it. But I think if I had to tell anyone, again, where are you making your primary income and you're living from? And when you do that, are you doing the stuff that you enjoy, or are you doing it because it's a job?
Yeah, right.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong. Just define that.
Yeah. It's a
Okay.
recipe for burnout, right?
Right. And then with that, just build relationships. Spend the extra 5 minutes, you know, spend the extra time just chatting for a few minutes. When we built the new office, we had these chairs, and I don't know why, but my wife got these chairs from a friend of a business colleague of hers, and there were these little comfortable white chairs, and we're like, what are we going to do with this? And all of a sudden we thought, okay, let's put it in the treatment room, and we put it at the foot of the patient. So in the hygiene room, when I walk in there now, even though I walk with the patient's back to me, I plop myself on the chair, and then my hygienist sits the patient up. So now I'm eye to eye, and even if it's 2 minutes or it's 7 minutes, I just say, hey, Mark, how's it going? How's the family? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then we can break that ice, and then just go, okay, well, let's talk about what's going on in your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's huge. I think, with the weight of owning a practice and the knowledge that you need to acquire, and the technology, I think maybe I'm wrong, but sometimes the human side of things is a little missed. Do you see that out there? I think we're treating people at the end of the day, and that conversation, that relationship, is
yeah,
mission critical in my opinion.
yeah. No, it is. It's so crucial, and I just think that yeah, no, you've hit it on the head. I think it's important just to keep focused on that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, do you remember all of your patients? Like, coming back through, are you accepting new patients still? Like, where
Oh
are you
no,
at right now? Yeah,
absolutely. Always, we're
yeah,
always taking. And you know what? Okay. So this is interesting. My practice isn't one of these practices that I'm booked out, 3 months ahead or 5 months ahead or anything. My schedule for years has been, you know, 2 3 weeks. Good or bad, it's just the way it's been. And so I always want to I have blocks. And so I always want the ability, like if you call, I want to be able to get you in within a few days to address either an immediate concern or a bigger concern. I want to have time to do a comprehensive exam. And so that exam is going to involve not only like information gathering by just communicating and talking, but also doing an intraoral scan, taking photographs, pertinent radiographs, CBC, whatever it is, periodontal measurements, like all of that stuff. And so it's not like you just come in and, um, squeeze them in somewhere. Sometimes that does happen,
Yeah.
but I want the ability to have that. So, yes, one of the things that I do still want are new patients that want to come in and have their whole. A lot of times they're coming in for cosmetic stuff, but it turns out that it's actually way more comprehensive stuff because they can't really have veneers or resin bonding because their occlusion's all messed up.
Right. Yeah.
And and
Function is
so it's
everything. Yeah.
right. So it's more of a rehab. And then it's about talking to them about ortho and perio and everything else, what they really want.
How does those, like, I'm curious, how do those conversations go? Somebody off the street, whether it's,
Oh,
Invisalign or veneers, how
so
is it when
it's
you're like, I'm sorry, but, you know,
oh, I love those ones because
yeah,
because right away one of the first things that I'll do is just say, look, like they're coming. Well, I came here for veneers, and the first thing I would say is, so what is your perception of veneers? What do you know about? And uh, they'll kind of look back, and I go, no, just tell me what you feel veneers are. And I start the conversation that way because some people, they don't know what it is. They look on social media and, well, I want my teeth whiter and straighter. Okay. Or they'll say, well, I know you got to shave them down. And, or would joke about turkey teeth and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah,
And I said, well, what is it that is going to make you happy when you either walk into a room and people are looking at you, or when you're looking at a picture or you're looking at yourself in the mirror? Whatever is most important to you, what is it that you're looking for? Oh, well, I want the teeth to be a little more lined up and I want my smile to be a little fuller. And I go, okay, let's start. Now I'm finding out what they really want
right,
as opposed to what they think they want.
yeah,
Because I tell them, look, I can do veneers, but I do a lot of other stuff. So I'm not a cookie cutter where someone like, that's why I don't say, hey, I'm doing veneers. It's not what I say.
yeah,
Let's figure out what you want because maybe I can do it and maybe not have to treat all the teeth that you think you need treated.
yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit of seeing my orthodontist to do a little bit of alignment, do some bleaching, and I only have to do 2 veneers. Maybe I do.
Does the general population, do they think, are we not educating folks enough on what it is that, obviously Invisalign, it's a treatment. Veneers is a treatment. People don't understand that. Is that
I don't
for the
think
most part?
no,
Yeah,
I don't, and I think a lot of that blame comes from dentistry.
sure. And I would argue social media as well, right? That we were
Yeah,
seeing everybody.
but where is it coming from? It's coming from dentists. It's
Yeah,
coming from manufacturers,
yeah,
but it's coming from the dentist. Like if we are not taking accountability for educating and for sending a proper message of what dentistry is about and what we're doing, as opposed to going, hey, I do look like, look at all the veneers I do. Look, I still put before and afters and other things on my social media and stuff like that. But the reality is, like, if we're not educating the patients with um, foundational dentistry and good um, comprehensive approaches to dentistry, whose fault is that? It's
right,
ours.
right, right.
It's ours. It's not anyone else.
What's the solution there? Have you thought about that?
Well, I always do. I just think
Yeah,
the solution is to be educated and think globally.
right.
Don't think about a procedure first. Think about the end result. It's no different than you're in business. When you put a business plan together and you go to a bank or you go somewhere you're trying to sell something, it's that end result. It's that tangible result. And it's also when you're dealing with numbers, it's like, hey, how can I get you so that I can help you get your business to be stable and to be growth? Well, it's the same thing with this. When you come in to see me, I want to be able to help you achieve that result and have it last.
Right.
Okay.
Y-
I don't want you to have to come back to me 5 years later and go, hey, you did all these crowns and everything, and I got to redo. They're all breaking. Well, how do I do that? By looking at the big picture and addressing every aspect and going, hey, if you want me to do this, I can achieve this smile for you. I can achieve this bite so that you can chew properly for a long time, as long as you take care of, you're not biting your nails and not eating ice and all that kind of stuff. I can do that for you. But if you want that, here's what I have to do.
right, right. Um, yeah, it's presenting it. Yeah, it's in the like.
Right.
I think it's. I mean, social media kind of just shows the surface a lot.
It does.
We
It's
don't dive
very
into sort of the layers and the conversations that happened before. Unfortunately, marketing and the communication to draw all these folks into the practice, it's that glossy stuff that seems to work the best.
well,
But there's
yeah,
another piece
absolutely.
that works really great too, is the testimonial piece. And I've seen this with numbers too, like a great testimonial video of a patient's story versus, somebody with just, the end result, right?
Right, right. Yeah.
So, I want to dive in. So you're building a educational website. What's sort of that? What's the details on that?
Oh, man. So you know what? I just like, here's the thing. I love, like, we've been talking about a whole bunch of different things right now, but what
Yeah.
I love doing is mentoring. I love working with dentists, young and seasoned, who want to change their approach to practicing dentistry from just fixing teeth in a reactionary manner to looking at their entire mouth and bringing it to health and function and stability. And so I want to spend I when I'm teaching and lecturing, I want to spend time with dentists that want that, as opposed to coming to me like I used to and go, hey, can you show me how to do these class twos? Can you show me how to do these anterior resins? Can you show me how to prep veneers? There's lots of people that can show that. I don't mind, but it doesn't thrill me anymore to try and teach, what burr to use and all that. But to look and diagnose comprehensively and globally, to be able to create stability and long-term health and these amazing smiles and bites, that's what I like doing. So one of the things that I want to do is I'm going to selectively choose some courses and lectures to teach that. And I want to also create just a simple educational site where I can just put some videos up, but I'll also want to create an opportunity to do mentoring, one-on-one mentoring, whether you want to do it virtually and help with treatment planning and diagnosis of cases, as well as if you want to come into my office and spend time with me and seeing how our workflow is and actually mentoring you that way. So that's what I want to do. And yeah,
Let's go. I want
see
to
how
go on
that
a tangent here. How important were your mentors to your career? Like,
they still are.
yeah, yeah,
They still are. My biggest restorative mentor, Paul Belvedere, he passed away probably 7, 8 years ago, but he foundationally taught me so much about adhesive dentistry, and I still use a lot of it because he used to show 25 and 30-year follow-ups. And I'm proud that when I see a filling that I've done and it's sitting in there, it may not look as good through wear and tear, but it's still there for 20 years, and patient has no pain and there's no decay around there. Just, it could be freshened up because the margins aren't as great. But and then there's a couple of prosthodontists, Fred McIntyre and Paul Oline, that taught me so much about diagnosing comprehensively. So I still, look back. They're retired, but their foundations, and they led me to Coyce and Spear and Mish and all of these people. So these mentors that I have that are still teaching, I still learn from them. I still reach out to them and ask them advice. And they don't just give me answers, they ask more questions to challenge me. And then they go, oh, okay, you're asking me that question because I need to think about this and this. And that's what I do with younger dentists, I don't give them the answer right away. I start asking them questions. Some of them don't like it, but I want them to critically think. I think there's critical thinking is a lost art, and
Yeah.
it's a lost art right from you're finishing high school and you get out to university and you don't know what to do because us helicopter parents are telling you what to do, and you don't know how to think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not just in dentistry. So I want so mentors are huge. They're huge, and I think it's important to have mentors in your practice, in your city, and outside of your city, and not all just dental. But I think you should have some business ones too.
Yeah. Yeah. Staying humble too.
Yeah.
In my opinion, is staying humble. You're not jaded in it. As soon as you go down that route, I think you close yourself off, and people,
Yeah.
I think, find themselves in their own little islands. There seems
Oh,
to
for
be a lot
sure.
of different factions and people that,
Sure.
in the industry that don't like they butt heads and things. I think,
You know what? And I have no time for them. It's a
yeah,
bunch of crap. Like, you
yeah,
know what? Like, get over yourselves.
yeah,
Like, yes, there are. The bottom line is solid fundamental. Like, do you see a person like John Coyce or people who are teaching at Dawson or Pankey or Spear, like sitting and getting into chest thumping with all these factions on biomimetics and this type of implant, and you have to use this type of bone graft material or this type of bonding agent? You don't see them doing that. They don't
no,
need to, because what's happening is all of these people and all of these continuums, they're based on comprehensive foundational dentistry,
right,
right? And
right,
that's the thing that I've done with my buddies Gordon Chi and Sonny Verdi is we don't get into involved in all that. We talk about the foundations, we talk about the science, and there are multiple ways of doing it. And it's not wrong. You know, one of my good friends that I've built a really close relationship is Patrick Callalang, and you probably are familiar with him from, and he puts on some courses in Scottsdale. And one of the things, and we love golfing together and stuff like that, but I love having conversations with him because we have a similar background and philosophy of how we practice dentistry, and we look at things globally. And there are some ways that he does some of his dentistry and teaches some of his direct composites that are slightly different than what I do, but we respect each other. We respect the part that overlaps, and we respect a little bit of it that deviates, but our goals are the same. We're just trying to do the best for our patients. And in his hands, a couple of those procedures work a certain way, and in my hands, they work the other, but our end
yeah,
result is the same. And
yeah.
we're not bashing each other, we're cheering each other on.
That's
But
the way it should be. Yeah,
we're like 85% exactly the same, and maybe 10 or 15% slightly different.
yeah,
We're not
yeah,
chastising each other.
yeah.
And it's one of those things where, there's a lot there, but I don't like the dogmas and the thing where it's like, if you don't do it this way, you are
Right.
doing bad dentistry.
I think
Ah,
that puts a roadblock on things, right? Just for
yeah,
anything in general.
yeah,
Like, how awesome has it been to just go to Coyce, go to Pankey, go to Spear, and absorb all this material and then turn it around in practice? I think,
it's
I think
us.
it just lends to it the mind of it, doesn't it?
No, it does. And that's where, like, I run a Seattle study club with one of my best friend, who's an orthodontist, and Tim and I have been doing it for 20 years, and we've gone for the last 15 years to Seattle Study Club Symposium. We meet Coyce docs, LVI docs, Pankey docs, everyone, and but it's all about comprehensive dentistry, and it's about that connection, and it's just great. And then we come back re-energized, taking all these programs and courses, and we start collaborating with one another and bringing it back. And our patient care has increased dramatically in our community and within our practices because of taking that approach. And we can offer collectively as a group, with our group of specialists in our labs, some of the best dentistry anywhere because we're working together and we're collaborating.
Yeah, and it's just your awareness of the things out
Right.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a tech guy. What tools, gadgets, solutions have caught your eye? Are you using AI in practice now? Where are you at
Yeah,
there on that front?
this meeting we went to a few weeks ago, the symposium, it started and it ended with a couple of people with AI, and I didn't realize the impact that it had, even using like Chat GPT or Claude to be able to help you, you know, put together like even workflow within your practice to be able to implement for doing some of your charting and doing some of your checklists and communicating with your team. So automatically, as soon as I got back, I started implementing some of it. But I'm using AI with some of the radiographs within the practice. It's been great. I don't believe that it's going to replace. It does. I shouldn't say don't believe. It's, in my opinion, right now, we're not replacing clinical judgment and experience, but it raises the minimum threshold of diagnosis, because now when something's on that software, you have to look at it.
Yeah, right.
And if a
Yeah.
patient asks for their documents, it's in there. So you at least have to address it and mark, look, this shows up here, but here's why I don't feel it's a cavity. Here's why I don't think it's a cavity, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Or
Yeah.
here's why I do agree with it. So that's one thing we're using for. The digital workflows, I mean, I've been digital for like, I don't know, 18 years in the practice, but with the scanning, our model printing, and our milling, we're doing a lot more now. We wanted doing a lot more like some same day dentistry. I'm collaborating with my lab that is in another province, and sometimes they're designing and sending the design so I can print and mill provisionals, prototypes, other things like that. So we're doing all of that. And so it's allowing us to do a lot of really cool contemporary dentistry. And I don't know, but my team, like the team that I have right now, they're embracing it rather than going, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, you
They're
have
like,
to.
okay,
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
And this is what we offer. So yeah, there's so much, and I'm loving it. And that was one of the other pieces that I wanted when I built this practice is I want it to be digital. I wanted the communication and the collaboration with all the specialists in the lab to be digital, because when we're treatment planning, dude, we're treatment planning with real records. Like
Yeah.
the surgeon, periodontist, orthodontist, endodontist, myself, the lab, we have the data in front of us when we're treatment planning. So physically, we don't always have to be in the same room
How amazing is
discussing.
that? Like, do you ever like
Right.
think of like where things first when you first started
Oh,
to
all
where
the
it
time.
is now? Does that just not blow your mind?
It does, because if you're living in downtown Toronto, downtown Vancouver, like it's hard to get all the specialists in the lab in the same room
Mhm.
after work, right? You're going
Yeah.
to be sitting in traffic for an hour, and you get home at 8 o'clock, and you want to eat, hang out with the kids. Now you can just do that. You can
Yeah.
just do that with real records. So it's
Yeah.
big.
It's pretty cool.
It's huge.
And then how do you keep disconnected from it now, right? Now it's like it follows you
Oh,
around in your pocket,
hard.
right?
I think it's really important, and I'm not good at that yet, to just be able to put that phone away and put that away. Um, I find it harder because some of the labs and design centers that I use, they're in different time zones and different countries, and so I'm communicating that way. And
Yeah.
so sometimes it'll look like the team's like, look, I'm not actually texting and surfing the net. I'm actually communicating here. So that becomes a bit of a fine line. But when I'm busy, like when my team keeps me busy, I don't have time to be answering emails.
Yeah.
I don't have time to be looking at text. And they'll be like, hey, have you looked at this? And it's like, no, I haven't, because I was busy. So I still have to work on it, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we all do. It's hard,
Yeah.
right? Whatever your walk is, it's we're all so connected.
Yeah.
What are your now you're moving towards trying to disconnect a little bit. What tips would you give folks out there now to just take a breath, put the phone down, and then go to Paris? Like, what does that look like for you?
Like uh, when we went there, like, yeah, were we on our phones? Yeah, we were, but a lot of it was taking photos and sharing it in our family group chats.
Yeah,
Um, and so that sort of thing we were doing, and a lot of Google Maps because we walked a lot. But beyond that, yeah, no, I mean, I didn't. I can say unequivocally, I did not have a single email or text related to patient treatment in the 8.5 days. Not
Yeah.
one.
And it
Okay.
sounds like you've set that up in
Yeah.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. But did they collect two or three things to talk about when I got back? Yes, but it wasn't a large amount. But they said, okay, this particular person, this is what we've done. Hey, you've got to get this lab design done. Can you take care of this? Blah, blah, blah. But I did not have any when I was at Seattle Study Club Symposium 3 weeks ago. I had one email regarding a patient case and one text as well because I had to get something done, and I was the roadblock. So, but that was
Yeah.
it. Yeah, no, and that's because it goes back to the systems that you were talking about and the accountability piece that the team has.
Yeah, that takes time, right?
Yeah.
So you're okay. So you're working, you're collaborating with a doc out in Toronto. There's a course coming up.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that.
Oh yeah, her name is Nada Albatish, and super nice person. In fact, she now runs a Seattle Study Club in Toronto for the last 3 years. Um, and she's done a fair amount of lecturing on her own and with other organizations. So we have a similar philosophy in terms of how we approach our patients in terms of wear and comprehensive dentistry. So we decided, hey, why don't we put a course on a topic that we both love, and that's the worn dentition. And so we're going to do a 2-day lecture and hands-on program in Calgary on the 28th and 29th of March. And I think we have 3 or 4 spots left. But it's going to be 2 days, and it's called we have a landing page. It's called warndentition.com.
It'll be in the show
And
notes. I'll put it in the show notes. So
sure. And then otherwise, if you go to my Instagram, it's in the link in the bio. But we do have a few spots left, and it's going to be hands-on. So we're going to talk about diagnosis, treatment planning of these wear cases, and then actually showing preps, like different types of preps. You're going to be prepping them like onlays and crown preps and things like that, and then how to provisionalize, handle the occlusion, and so forth.
sounds like fun.
So
Sounds like fun.
yeah,
Right
it'll
on.
be great. The people who've taken continuums but are having a hard time kind of implementing in practice, great way, because we're going to kind of simplify and consolidate all that so you can actually start talking to patients and start doing some of these cases.
Love it. Love it. What's going on with your boys, Chi and Verdi? You guys working on anything coming up, or what's happening on that front?
We're planning on doing a veneer course in the fall. It'll
Yeah.
probably be in September. I have a feeling we'll probably end up doing it in Calgary. We're just finalizing some of those details, so we'll do a veneer course.
Fun.
And otherwise, all three of us we got a few other things that we're doing, personally, because we've got some different stages in our careers. So, but we're always hanging out, and we always enjoy each other's company. So that'll be the other thing. Yeah.
That's the name of the game, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
You got to enjoy it. Just final thoughts, Paresh, like coming into this conversation, was there anything top of mind that we haven't really gone over? We've covered a lot of bases.
Talk about a variety of things, Mark. You know what? I just think I think the one thing that maybe we didn't say that you were driving us towards is, look, define how you want to practice.
Yeah.
It's not wrong to do everyday good general bread and butter dentistry. It's not wrong. It can be extremely profitable. It doesn't have to be stressful. Okay. But as a dentist, look around, because whatever you're doing, make sure that it's going to last. And the only way it's going to last is if you know that the occlusion's good, that the perio is good, and that the patient is going to take care of themselves. All right. If you just fix teeth and take the approach, okay, it's okay, but in a few years, insurance will cover it, I'll redo it. That's
Yeah.
not the way to do things,
No.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Find how you want to practice. And honestly, you can do extremely well and be very successful doing a lot of basic restorative, basic hygiene, basic crown and bridge. And there's absolutely nothing wrong. But if you want to start doing the big stuff, don't go, hey, I want to do veneers. I want to do veneers. I want to do full. Do look at comprehensive dentistry and figure out if they're going to benefit from restorative or perio or ortho or a combination. And the only way you're going to do that is by having mentors and learning comprehensive approaches to diagnosis.
And sign up for every CE, like learn, right?
Oh, keep learning. I mean, I've listened to, Spear and Coyce so many times, but each time I listen to them, I pick up something different or I get jogged in memory. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. And, yeah.
And be a part of the community too. I think, your deep involvement in the Seattle Study Club, I think that's been crucial for you as well. Just having the opportunity to collaborate and throw your ideas around. I think that's where the fun happens.
Exactly. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. So it's been a pleasure to catch up. It's been too long, my friend. We'll do this sooner next time. Have an amazing weekend, my friend.
Hey, you as well. Hope you and your family's great and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah. You were talking about your trip to Paris. We were actually we were there in the fall too. We went took the kids to Disneyland in France.
Okay.
So that was great.
Fantastic. Oh, great. Excellent.
Awesome.
All right, man.
See you next time.
All right.